okay, I've hit the button. So we're here. Well, we're
Where's
not
the
all
music?
here. Well, the music doesn't have. Jesus
Oh, it doesn't
Christ,
have to
28
after,
times.
of course.
It happens when you say something ridiculous, then we hit the button to
Elephants.
cover it.
All right.
The music.
Wait, there's only two of us here.
I know. We're alone, but thanks to the power of the internet, we are joined from.
Where in the world are you, Julie?
I am in Split, in Croatia.
Wow.
And what are you doing there?
I'm working. I'm currently recording a podcast with my two esteemed colleagues.
Are you working from Airbnb?
I am working from Airbnb.
Perfect.
For approximately 3 weeks, and then I'm going to be holidaying for 2.
What a great idea.
It is. I mean, I think that it's been a bit of an experiment, but I have to say, I think it's been quite a successful one because
we're all going to be doing it.
Well, everyone's heading to the beach at lunchtime. It's been good.
Well, we've had water leaking into the office because of the rain. We've had a broken boiler. It's been great here too, and we're missing you.
Well, I'm missing you, and and also we've just heard that's Chris's reason to live. Obviously, his broken boilers and leaks. Nothing makes him happier than some brand architecture. Yeah, either brand architecture problems, some naming problems, and then
radiators needing bleeded.
It's there, so yeah. So that's the thing. I think this pre-pod is going to be pretty dull. Don't care because I think we're missing Julie. I think Julie's the spark that brings the fire to the pre-pod.
Press the button.
All right, we're going. Welcome to the Good Roundup. The Good Roundup is brought to you by Good, a brand consultancy based in the United Kingdom, in Glasgow and London. Coming in your ears this week is... I'm just trying to spice up because the pre-pod was so bad. It's not really working, but I'm going to go for it. So today it's me, your host for this afternoon's podcast, Stuart Steele. Hello.
Hi, Stuart.
Hi. And I'm joined as ever by Mr. Chris Lumsden and our foreign correspondent, Ms. Julie Murdoch.
Hello.
Hello.
Intuition, but I don't know how.
That's okay. That's
sausage, egg, and chips.
Yeah. So what's sausage, egg, and chips?
That's what you say when you go to a restaurant in Croatia. Anyhow.
See, this is why we need the break. I should play the music now.
No, that's done.
It's done now. Right,
so what are we talking about today, Stuart?
Today?
Well, we are talking about
something that Stuart wrote.
Something that I wrote. I wrote it on the 29th of September, 2022.
1922.
It's been a long month.
So this is part of a series that we've been writing about. We write about values, we write about vision, and then the bit that's missing
is the mission.
And what is the mission? What does this form? The pyramid?
Well, yeah, I mean, the pyramid, I guess. I mean, it's 3 tiers of a brand, and we start off with vision. The vision is your aspiration, should be slightly out of reach. At the bottom, there's the values, which is how you act day to day. And interestingly, it's kind of interesting even how we approached it, because everybody loves a vision. Who doesn't love a vision?
Yeah.
I love a vision. And then the challenge is, you've got the values, and everybody loves the values because it's what you are. You know what we are. We're innovative tech.
They're characters.
Yeah, that's it. And so people, and you can't really get. It's interesting because the values are always some because you go, yeah, that is us. You can see the values. And the bastard stepchild in the middle is the mission.
It's the poor relation, isn't it?
It is a little bit, and I feel quite sorry for the mission, because the mission is what guides you on a month-to-month basis, because that connects the aspirational, we're going to solve world hunger, and if you're looking at the big vision, we're going to solve that's an aspirational vision, probably out of reach, but that's what you're going to. And then underneath you could then just have values, which then kind of go, we're going to do this with integrity and and be nice to people and everything else. But what you miss in the middle is the mission, which is like, well, how are we going to do it?
So are you saying it's a bit of a poor relation, but desperately needed? Is it?
You can have. I mean, imagine, if you will, having a sandwich with just 2 pieces of bread. It's not a sandwich, is it?
No,
it's not. It's just 2 pieces of bread. So what makes it? Thank you, Julie.
That's a fantastic metaphor, Stuart.
So, thank you very much. So what makes it a sandwich is the bit in the middle, and that's what makes it a brand. You need that bit in the middle, because it's easy to put a slice of bread there and a slice of bread there. But if you don't have the bit in the middle, it's just 2 pieces of bread. It's not a sandwich.
I like how you talk about the mission as the connective tissue between the vision and the values.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It's just that, you can't come into your job every day and say, today I'm solving world hunger. You can't do it because it'll tire you out. It'll exhaust you. You can't then go down to your values going, today I'm going to solve world hunger with integrity,
Humility.
innovation. That's not how you're going to do it. You need that bit in the middle. It connects
So is it a description of what you do?
It can be the way, and I've seen some of that do it. For me, it describes how you're going to achieve your vision in a way that's not going into too detail. The problem with missions, why they're hard, is that suddenly you start writing 2 paragraphs and you start going, we are going to be, so for example, for us, we are going to brand industries who do tech stuff, B2B, whiskey. I mean, you start kind of turning it into this catch-all that everybody knows when it's not that. It is like any kind of brand. It is a guiding principle. It is the kind of guide. It's not, this will not replace the About Us page on your website.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's a kind of condensed version of top line, what we're going to do on a very top line basis that everybody can understand. And this is how we're going to become, this is how we're going to try and achieve our vision.
Yeah, you use a phrase in the article which is, it's the organising thought that pulls the vision and the values together. I think that's quite a nice.
I probably stole that.
Yeah, probably, but it's quite a nice description of the role that it plays.
Yeah, and it is. I think it's the hardest thing of all. I think it's the hardest thing to kind of sit down. So Darren and I I've just pulled together some thoughts after doing a brand workshop. Darren and I are sitting together with a client, and the thing that's actually vision, piece of piss, no bother, we can do that. Values, dead easy. They're everywhere in the organisation, but very lucky. The mission is the thing that people start looking at and going, well, I don't think it's like that. I don't think we do this. That's the thing that's actually the hardest bit to try and pull together and get cohesive around. Julie?
Do you think, sorry, this is quite tricky because I can't see Chris talking, so I don't know when you two are going to, but it's fine. Do you think that because of that, like you said, because it is quite complicated, it's difficult to get right, do we see, because one thing, I think when we might have talked about this when we were talking about the vision previously, about it becoming a bit of a people-pleasing exercise. I think from our experience, I would say you probably even see more of that when it comes to the mission because it is a little bit more practical rather than visionary. It's more the kind of how are we going to do this, that like you say, that layer upon layer of, well, but this, we do this and we do that. And before you know it becomes this kind of behemoth of, like you say, 2 paragraphs so that a number of different departments within the organisation or stakeholders or leaders or whatever can, check that box, and it becomes a bit of kind of something and nothing because it's a, a combined mishmash of everyone's input. I
think you're right. And I think what happens also is, and again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Nobody's trying to do it to make it more complicated, but they're trying to reflect every part of the organisation in the mission. Like, so we will sell, right? There's the sales people in, we will sell. Innovative, right? That's the innovative products, right? That's the product team in there. Through confident and the thing, okay, that's the sales team, and that's the marketing team in there. Suddenly what you've got to do is do that, and it becomes it says nothing apart from going, well, look, we've listened to you all, and now here you all are, and it doesn't work like that. It's not so much harder than that. It's just, you've kind of got to be disciplined in it. And again, if that's a keyword, good
it's
discipline.
The sacrifice thing again, isn't it? It's the sacrifice thing again as well.
And also it's an understanding, and Julie, it's a story that you like to recount. It's the old, was it the president going around NASA, and he sees the janitor.
And what do you do here?
Yeah.
And he's working to put a man on the moon.
Yeah, well, he's sweeping the floor, and I think that's the kind of thing. So that he's working, he understands his place. He doesn't need to be mentioned in the mission.
Mm-hmm. See, it's interesting you say that, because I was going to, there are 2 things for me. That one of the things about it is I think that gets confused or challenged is it sounds very like a vision, and people say it the other way around. They say mission, vision, values, and it's used interchangeably, which creates dissonance, if you like. But there's also the other part of it, which is, I think it's the point you just mentioned, which is language, and in the way that these things can be written really bad in a really sterile way. And that doesn't help either. So what's your view on that? The issue about, vision and mission and getting mixed up? You
can't do it. It's definitions. And I think that's when, anytime we start a brand workshop, it doesn't really, I mean, you could even, I'm going to be sick in my mouth a wee bit, but you can even call it purpose, excuse me. But you can even call it, if you want to. We don't really care.
So to interrupt you when you're answering my first question, here's another one. So we build these into pyramids because from us, over the years, we've honed this to understand that these 3 parts are crucial for us in expressing a brand. But we're not saying it's the only way, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So you can call them what you want, but as long as you tick those boxes.
I think as long as, because I agree, I don't think it matters whether you call it a vision, mission, purpose, whatever. But as long as you're clear in terms of what those definitions are and what role it plays in helping, like you say, to articulate the brand, and whether it's a pyramid, whether it's a circle, whatever it is, but I think that, and that, I know we've talked about this before, but I think true to our values, we've distilled it to something that is very simple and it's easy for clients to get their head around and it's easy for their team to get their head around. I think so often we see with clients, and I would say probably drinks and whiskey brands are the worst, where you have these overly complicated, layer upon layer of intrinsics and extrinsics and behaviors and values, and you can't put a knife between any of it, and it just becomes a sea of kind of nothingness.
Sorry, it's our iterative process over the years has honed us to something that's really simple to grasp.
Yeah, and I think that the other side of it is sometimes, and especially you see this with kind of startups, because it's very insular. And it's suddenly what the vision and the mission, and especially the mission, become goals.
Yes.
So
you said that today earlier.
We will become the world's leading XXX. And the mission is we will sell the best products. What is it? That's the vision about we will become the world's leading is a goal. Mm-hmm. That's not a vision. And then what happens is if you start off with the vision, then what the mission then becomes, how are you going to reach that goal? And first of all, that provides guidance for the business to kind of go, this is what we aspire to be, but it's not a vision. It's not visionary. Nobody's waking up to be. So anything.
It's not particularly rich.
No,
it's or deep.
And then it's like we're going to sell better boxes.
It's functional.
Else. Yeah, mm-hmm. And the thing, and again, we're working on a brand just now where their vision is not necessarily unique. I think that's another thing where. So the vision might not be particularly unique. The mission about how you achieve that vision can be unique, or maybe not unique, but certainly help differentiate you between reaching
right. So what you're saying is you can play around with the controls, turn up the volume, to get something that's ownable and the business feels comfortable with.
When you look at it, go, that's us. That can't be anybody else, because there's a lot of them where you kind of go, right, we're going to have this and we're going to have that and everything else, and it doesn't really work because it's bland.
And
I think as well that thinking about how we use assets like this and these kind of foundations to build out things like content strategies. If you've got a vision of to be, number one in the world, well, what does that mean? What do you talk about then? Do you know what I mean? What do you stand for? What is whereas take hours of making brands and branding better understood, respected, and valued, that gives you quite a clear, straight away you can kind of understand and think about the sort of what that means in terms of educational content or helpful content or things that we want to talk about, things we want to put out there that kind of underpin our position on that. Whereas something more sterile and less ownable arguably doesn't do that same job.
And that vision has then, leads into the mission of we develop effective creative strategies to solve complex brand problems and help build long-term value for clients. And this podcast, the reason that we're all sitting in various rooms with kit here that we've bought to make life easier to record in, is an extension of that vision and mission. It links directly to that, and to explain how we're trying to explain complex brand problems in a way that can be understood and maybe a bit valued, and I think that's important. And it gives us an attitude, a point of view, and that's another thing that combined all three of them should be together. It should all be, you should get the sense of the point of view of the organisation rather than just, right, we're here.
Well, I think, to be fair, that's one of the greatest compliments, I think, driven by you, Stuart, is that we practice what we preach with this stuff, is that we do it ourselves. We do it for ourselves too. Yeah. We believe in it, and we run this pyramid for ourselves. And, the vision, our vision, which we've talked about, making brands understood, valued, and respected. I'm very keen that becomes something that's visible in our working environment. Yep. What's your view on that, Stuart, in terms of these things being customer-facing or not? Because a lot of clients think that you plaster it on the website and that's the job done. Where are you in that?
Well, like any brand is a guiding light. And so what you've got to do is make sure that what you're putting out there, you can see where it's been influenced between your vision, mission, and values. It doesn't need to say the same thing, but you should all understand the source of where it's come from. It should all feel true. It should all feel true to that, to the brand pyramid, circle, omnihedron, if you want it, whatever it's going to be, but it's all got to feel true from that. So, I mean, for example, we don't have our vision, mission, values on the site.
Yeah, I don't think they should be necessarily customer facing.
No, because but what it's got to be, because again, what happens is, right, well, we'll put that on that page, boom, we've done it. The challenge is making that
living it
everywhere. It's just not a stamp. It's not. This is where sometimes the word brand, it's the mark in the back of the cow's arse. While it's being branded, sometimes the brand feels like that. We'll go, well, if you go to our about page, you'll get an idea of the brand. No, if you go to the website, if you go to the homepage, if you go to
the office,
every single page, you should get an idea of the brand. It doesn't live on one thing and the job's done. So,
yes.
And that's where the work begins. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's kind of like
it's where the work starts.
Yeah, it's getting everything together is hard, and getting everybody behind it's hard, but then rolling it out in a way that's not repetitive, that's not boring, but it's at least is consistent with the overall approaches. That's what's hard. That's discipline.
Yeah, I agree. It should look easy and effortless.
Yeah.
But behind it lies quite a lot of craft and rewriting and writing and rewriting to make it simple, really.
Yep.
I think that's a key point.
Yep. And it's the same thing as clients go, right, so what's the outcome in this? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? How are you going to know this works? And that all goes back to the mission of kind of going effective creative strategies, because at the end of the day, if we create effective creative strategies, then clients will respect brand more.
Yeah.
It all feeds off each other. And the way that we do that is, being simple, honesty, and with a bit of love here and there.
I think and you touched on it earlier, Chris, about the point about these things sometimes becoming or feeling overly sterile with the kind of the language. And I suppose that's where the crafting of it comes in, doesn't it? So it feels like you. But I think on the flip side, we've also seen lots of examples of these where there's overly flowery language, where what you end up with is, again, it's a bit like the kind of Buzz Lightyear of the vision, isn't it? Where it's just like a bit of kind of word soup that, sounds in theory great, but actually doesn't mean anything. So I think it's that balance between something that's kind of quite practical and something that also feels...
I mean, well, I was going to extension to Jules's point is that quite often, I mean, very rarely do we do these things from scratch. Quite often where clients bring us in and there's something there. Sometimes it can be short and sharp and on the money, but quite often it's, as Jules described it, it can be overly flowery and as you said as well, it's just, everyone's ticked the box and everything's been mentioned, but it's just a word soup. What's the process there, Stuart, with clients? Do we say to them, look, it's like, out with the old and in with the new, or is there a halfway house?
No, we don't create anything new. Anytime we've done this,
of course we do.
No, we don't. We don't. We sit there and this is all part of our responsible branding thing. We sit there and listen to the people who work in the organisation, who do it day by day. It's the challenge with this kind of stuff a lot of ways is that it's like asking somebody, can you explain to me how you breathe? And they go, what do you mean? You go, well, how do you breathe? And you go, well, in through the nose. And then what happens in here? They instinctively do it. And then when you try to explain the process of breathing, it becomes a bit hard and a bit difficult because you're just instinctively living the brand every day. So what we end up doing is just talking to people about what do you like, what do you not like, why did you start this, what's the founding story, why did you do it? And it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there. And it's like, going, what's hard? What do your customer... And again, this has got to be easily interpreted for customers at some point. So it's got to start off reasonably simple so you can expand it and stretch it and use it for sales and everything else. So it's a team sport. You kind of sit there with everybody and go, right, tell us about this. What do you like about the brand so far? What's the thing? What's the bit of copy you like? What do you not like? What's the future? Where's this brand strategy is business strategy. I mean, normally we are getting businesses ready for the next stage in their development. And so it all comes from in. We never create anything new. What we do is distill it. We find the nub. We find what's already there and take it, get rid of all the noise, get rid of all the problems that people are keeping them up at night on a day-to-day basis, and just say, look, this is who you are. We feedback, and the best thing I get out of my job is the moment when so for example, we've just done a 3-hour brand workshop, which is reasonably short for us. It's come back into 50 pages of transcripts. I've then put it down to 4,000 words of things that are interested, and then I've reduced that to 6 places where the challenges are. That
takes an objective eye, doesn't it? An experienced objective eye.
Yeah, because, there's a lot, and the one that we're working on just now, there's a lot of, this is what we're doing. I'm going, but what does that mean? Does anyone care?
Yeah.
Does anyone, I know you guys care, but does anyone care? Is that how you sell things? Is that what you bring up when you start to sell stuff? No, we do this. So I think you do need to have an objective. Somebody needs to come in and challenge it. That's what we do, and then just distill it. But we don't create anything new. We just play back tighter.
Yeah, tighter. That's interesting. And what about? Sorry, Jules, I can't see you, so I'm just cracking on here. What, what about how often this stuff gets evolved or changed or polished? Because quite often, you think this stuff's set in stone, and can it change? Should it change?
I guess, but I mean, I think the challenge is if you get it done right, you shouldn't need to change it. It'll always change. You might decide to go into X and Y. There's sometimes a fear that goes, in 5 years' time, we might be wanting to do this. And what happens is the tendency is, okay, we'll make the vision, we'll make, especially that's where mission comes in, because you're always going to have a vision, you're always going to have your values, but the mission that goes, we might be getting into software. I'm going, right, well.
Do you call that mission creep?
I just call that bollocks. And I'm going, well, is the fact you're going, what will the software enable? What will it do? What's the value in the software? And that value you're probably already doing, it's just another extension of that. Because if you don't have that in your kind of way of working just now, like...
Right, so what you're saying is this isn't something that gets evolved every 12 or 18 months. It's much more settled than that.
I mean, as we've seen, new brooms got to come in and they've got to sweep. And then what you're then doing is then forcing change where change is not required, but somebody feels they've got to put their mark on it. And that's interesting because what happens is we will come in and probably not change a lot. We might then change the order of the words. Or maybe say, look, maybe given the thing here, you're there, but the essence is always the same.
But they're the foundations upon which all the creative work is built.
Yeah.
Again, something we've touched on before about where the responsibility for brand lives. And if it's not, brand strategy is business strategy, brand strategy is not marketing strategy. So, I think if you've got that brand and its role and the importance of it living at that kind of leadership C-suite level, then it shouldn't evolve and change every time there's a new CMO or brand director or whatever. There should be, the kind of buy-in across the business at that top level makes these things easier to stick.
When I've pulled all my things together and I say, like, we're going to explore this area and that area and here, and that gets sent over to Daz, who I normally work with, to kind of create that thing.
From it,
The mission is the thing that's always the hardest, because it is the one that is going to guide you in a kind of the business in it, on how you're doing things a lot. And that's always the kind of thing, well, can we dial that up or dial that down? Because nobody disagrees with a vision, because that's what the company does, and you can go there. Nobody disagrees with values because they're usually inherent, but the mission is always the one that people go, I don't know. What
we're missing is...
We're not talking about designers. Sometimes that's what it is. We're not talking about this, and we're not talking about that. And sometimes you can put what's in a mission as a value, because, we believe in sustainable solutions that well. Well, that's not necessarily a mission. That should be driven from your values.
Yeah, which you can say in a different way.
Yeah, there's nuance there. So it's actually, there's always a bit of a new, but again, trends come into this. So obviously sustainability quite rightly is front of mind for a lot of business. So they feel it should be their mission. It's not that. Their mission is product and how the product will help with the mission. Sustainability is important, but it should be a value. It's something that shouldn't just live. This is why they're all very important.
Well, I was going to ask you. Maybe we're near the end, but some people will listen to this and go, "What a lot of shite." I mean, it's just a lot of kind of esoteric, abstract nonsense. What would you say to people that say, "Look, a brand, you don't need this for a brand"? Can a brand exist without one of these things?
Yeah, of course it can.
What would happen?
It's when you start to grow. I mean, that's fine when you've got the founder and you can sit there and go, right, we're all in a room. Because that sense of leadership comes from one person that you can see, and there's pros and cons to that. And sometimes that kind of founder mentality is very compelling, and everybody wants to be led. The challenge is as you get bigger, as you expand, that dissipates.
Founder leaves or dies.
Or and then because what is it? And then you lose that essence. And basically, the brand is, and I don't like.
Say it.
I don't like the term brand story because I think it infantilizes. Yes, thank you. But at the same time, what you're trying to tell is a story that people can share. That's what the brand is, and that can go internally and that can go externally.
Yeah.
But we're breaking it into 3 component parts rather than once upon a time and into just protagonists and everything else. It's a story about the organisation that you can then take and then interpret as many stories are done to the right audience at the right time. And so that's why you need it. And that's why it kind of gets, and ironically, and the ethereal vision, mission, values bullshit I understand where people get the dry bulk on it because it does, but at the same time, the vision, mission and values is why actually you're buying shoes from Nike. It's why you're buying computers from Apple. It's all the stuff that goes around it. Julie Murdoch, please.
I was just thinking when you were talking about Chris's question about what happens if you don't have it? Is it just a lot of shite? And we had a meeting that we had the other week with it was a beauty client, and they didn't, like to your point, sure, they didn't have, they didn't have an origin story, they didn't have a founder story. They also didn't have a clear vision, mission, values. They had kind of just evolved out of a product that had been created. I don't even really know by who. There was nothing anyway. If there was clearly a founder at some point, but wasn't part of the business. And basically everything over the course of about 3 years they'd gone from being enjoying some early success because of a quite innovative for the category at the time product, but their product development then went way off track, and they ended up with this really disparate, slightly confused product range. Their marketing and content was all over the shop. These were things that they'd recognised, not that we had to point out to them, but you could see it was glaringly obvious. There was no consistency in terms of whether it was graphically, whether it was their language and their tone of voice, all through their content. None of it was really hugely effective. They didn't know what it was doing for them because it was a very much kind of shotgun approach. And because they didn't have those foundations clearly laid out, and they didn't have that as a kind of anchor, every aspect of the business, from product development to packaging development to marketing and content, just all felt just
loose.
Loose. Yeah. So anyway, I think
it's a good point.
And who came in and ate their lunch? Brands with a firm story, who understand who they are, and then went, you know what, we're having a bit of that, and we've got all the stuff already. We're already set up.
We're good to go.
We know how to flex into this space that we're going to steal it. We're going to tell the story that's been based in 50 years of telling stories, and we've got it.
And that's a great demonstration of why brand is important to business.
No half. Anyway, I'm done. I'm tired.
I enjoyed this discussion about mission, actually, because it is. I've always, of them all, it's the one I've struggled with the most.
I love it.
I'm glad that you are so engaged with it.
Well, I love it. You just get into it, and Daz and I have good chats, and then you go back to the clients. We can do this, or we can do that. Who are you?
The thinking is good. The thinking is good.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I believe it's making our thinking sharper and better.
Well, that's. Listen, if you can't get up in the morning and have sharper thinking and better thinking, you just may as well go back to bed.
Or Croatia.
Or go to Croatia, yeah.
Well, and I've been getting up in the morning having a very good almond croissant from the cookie lab round the corner. So, if you can't have that, life's poorer for it.
Thanks, Jules.
Right.
Hurry back, won't you?
Yeah, hurry back. Can't wait to see you, Jules. Well, it's nice to see you. Right, that was good.
Thanks, guys.
Right.
All the best. Bye-bye.